afternoon, folks, at least afternoon my time, from Pattaya Beach, Thailand, my home. And I've been going through this, very curious about this sugar diet thing. It's either the worst name or the cleverest name for something, in the diet realm. It's for sure clickbait, So I cop to that. Yeah, it's kind of clickbait. That's not really what it means. Sure, you can do sugar water and all that. The better way to do it is whole fruit. Whole fruit has its sugar is I think almost exclusively it's sucrose, so it's basically half glucose and half fructose. What's interesting in studying this a lot, which I've done in the last week or so, is that contrary to popular belief, fructose isn't the evil that people seem to think it is, because it has to be processed by the liver, where glucose goes through a different metabolic chain. Because our bodies use glucose directly. You need about 120 grams nominally. Ketones can make up for some, but your brain has to have glucose. So you might ask yourself the question, well, if we're supposed to eat only meat and there's no glucose in meat, then why did we evolve to require glucose for our brains? It's a smart question, and all the answers are fucktarded. 100% of the answers are fucktarded. And just think about that. I'm not going to go into it, but you should, a rational person should say, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. And it doesn't, right? And that is why low carbers, going back all the decades, never really get headway, because their shit doesn't really make much sense. I'll give you another example. Okay, if carbohydrate drives insulin and drives fat storage and obesity, how come billions of Asians eat hundreds of grams of carbohydrates a day, mostly through white rice and noodles? Of course, the noodles are rice noodles, so it's just all rice. The noodles are just a little bit more processed. So how come, but yet so many of them are lean, and not only just lean, but they live into their 80s or so, and they live healthy, right? So my problem with low carbers a lot is that they ignore falsification. So if you say carbohydrates make you fat and unhealthy and da-da-da-da, well, how come it didn't make these billions of people, not just a few, billions of people fat and unhealthy, and so on and so forth? That's called falsification. It means your theory is full of fucking shit. But yet, every single low carber tries to advance that narrative. And I get impatient about it. And even like sciencey types, oh, just ignore it. Pretend like everybody evolved in an ice age. And, oh, by the way, in an ice age, what did all the big animals eat to survive, right? Yeah, I know it wasn't always an ice age, but they always pretend that it was always just, you're going to starve if you don't hunt. I live in the tropics here in Thailand. You can't starve to death. Food grows all over the place naturally, right? And what are you saying? Oh, well, we're carnivores. We just pass up all that fruit, maybe the honey, the tree with a honey stash in it. We pass up all that, pass up all the tubers. Oh, Jesus, there's a 300-pound tuber growing right under the soil. No, we pass up all that to bust our asses to hunt wild game. Of course, wild game was prized. Of course. But the idea that Paleo Man passed up food that this planet produces is the most fucktarded thing, and that's why low carbers are fucktards. They just really are. They're fucktards. It's like a church, the church of low carbohydrate, with a fucking preacher. With a preacher, and of course all the people on social media are the choir. So the preacher is preaching to the choir, who is singing their asses off. Anyway, I have a new post up on this sugar diet, quote unquote, that I've been experimenting with, and I tell you how it's been going for me. And by the way, one last thing before I go. So I'll put the link to the post, but one last thing before I go. What is, for those of you who've been in this arena forever and ever and ever, what is the most common word low carbers use? Can you guess? The word low carbers, doesn't matter whether they're just Atkins low carb or keto low carb or carnivore low carb, same word they all use. Stalled. Stalled. For months, years, or even decades. I'm stalled. I got a message from a guy in my last post. He says, I've been doing strict carnivore for a long, long time, but yet I wonder, why am I 20 pounds more than I should be? Well, read my post.